Kaivalya Navaneeta continued. I shall now relate to you a story to illustrate this. 10 men forded a stream, and on reaching the other shore, each of them counted 9 others and omitted to count himself. They were all perplexed because the 10th man was missing. Ignorance is want of right understanding, which causes confusion. The 10th man is missing, not to be found. This thought is the wailing. Grief at the loss of the companion is vikshepa. To heed the words of a sympathetic passerby who says, "The 10th man is among you," is indirect knowledge. When the kindly man further makes one of them count the others and points to the teller as the 10th man, the discovery of oneself as the missing 10th man forms direct experience. The cessation of grief for the lost man is freedom from misery. The joy of indubitable ascertainment by oneself is supreme bliss. Disciple: Master, pray show me my real self, so that I may know it as truly as the 10th man did in the anecdote. Master, there is the Mahavakya, great sentence from the Vedas, that thou art. The verb art in it establishes the identity of the pronouns that and thou in their ultimate meaning. I shall explain how it does so. Hear me. Just as the ether, though single, is fourfold as the wide expanse, the ether in the clouds, the ether in the pot, and the reflection in water, or chit, which is single, is called the all-pervading Brahman, Ishvara, the Self, and the Jiva. In the Mahavakya referred to, the word that stands for Almighty Ishvara, and thou stands for the Jiva. But ultimately they mean respectively Brahman, who is free from Maya, and the inner self, who is free from limitations. They are now mutually bound up like butter in boiled milk. Just as the milk is churned and the butter separated, so also you should realize the self and thus stand apart. The way to get rid of the trappings of the Jiva is to kill the present idea that I am the body, which is only a corpse after all. For It is a mere assemblage of the 5 elements. Nor can you be the breath which moves through the nostrils like the blasts of air blown by bellows. It is simply a function of Rajoguna. Can the self be the intellect or the mind, which stand to each other in the relation of agent and instrument? These 2 sheaths are only modes of Sattvaguna. Let not the unedifying bliss of deep sleep be mistaken for the self, for it is only a mode of Tamoguna. Know thou as the self to be Sat, Chit, Ananda, the ever unchanging, single, eternal, and all-pervading witness, and rid yourself of the trap of the 5 sheaths, which are of an opposite nature, false, insentient, painful, etc. Disciple, when I disassociate myself from the 5 sheaths and look beyond, there remains only a blank. I see nothing more than that. Am I to take this blank for the supreme experience of the self? Master, in the anecdote, the 10th man of deluded intellect, after counting only 9 men and not recognizing himself as the 10th, was stupefied. Can such stupor be the 10th man? Good son, you are the seer of all, that is, blank and the 5 sheaths. I speak the truth. You are the unchanging witness of the gross, subtle, and causal ignorance, the waking, dream, and sleep states, and the passage of time, past, present, and future, which endlessly rise and fall like waves in the ocean of bliss. Do not ask, by what light shall I see myself, who am the all-seeing witness? Can there be a light to illuminate the self-luminous light? The 10th man knows himself as such among the others. Is there an 11th man in him? To argue that another knowledge is necessary to make knowledge known is foolish and leads to interminable controversy. You are neither known nor unknown. Realize yourself as self-shining knowledge. Is it what makes the sweets sweet, not the nature of sugar to be sweet? Realize yourself as the meaning of I, which makes known objects as this and that, or the seen and unseen, and itself lies beyond them. The self as described above is the primary meaning of thou in the Mahavakya, that thou art. Brahman, which is never bound by limitations, is the primary meaning of that. Their secondary meanings are the transient Jiva and Ishvara respectively. Two separate entities can never be identical. The distinctions between Ishvara and the Jiva are due to their names, localities, artificial limitations, bodies, and capacities. They are as far apart as the upper and the nether regions. Their identity is unthinkable with these associations. When the conventional expectations of terms appear inconsistent, the pundits of ancient lore bring out the true meanings by employing three methods of exegesis: disjunction, conjunction, or the two combined. The house on the Ganges and the black remained and the red fled, and this is that Devadatta are respective examples of the above. The apparent contradictions in several scriptural passages are eliminated by a judicious use of these three exegetical methods. In the example, this is that Devadatta, the man who was seen in another place and on another occasion, and also known as Devadatta, is that man who is seen in this place and on this occasion. Although the time and place are different, a little consideration reveals the man to be the same. Similarly, in the words that and thou, their literal meanings excluded, the consciousness principle is taken as Brahman and as the witness whose unbroken identity is established by art, so that Brahman is the self and the self is Brahman. The ether reflected in water in a pot and in the clouds are both circumstantial and therefore unreal, whereas the space in the pot and the wide expanse are together one and the same. Similarly, all-pervading Brahman and the witness in the individual being are together one and the same. You must experience it so that you may remain fixed in the realization, I am that reality. On hearing this, the disciple, loyal to the instructions of the master, discarded the 5 sheaths and the blank, realized the self as I am Brahman, went beyond that, and remained as perfect being. At the glance of the master, who was grace incarnate, the worthy disciple sank into the ocean of bliss and merged as the undivided whole, as pure consciousness, free from body, organs, and all else, with mind made perfect, so that he became the true self, unaware while awake. After the blessed disciple had remained in that state for a long time, his mind gently turned outward. Then he saw his glorious master before him. His eyes were filled with tears of joy. He was full of love and fell at the feet of the master. He rose up, came round the master, and with folded hands spoke to him. Disciple, Lord, you are the reality remaining as my innermost self, ruling me during my all countless incarnations. Glory to you who have put on an external form in order to instruct me. I do not see how I can repay your grace for having liberated me. The master beamed on him as he spoke, drew him near, and said very lovingly, to stay fixed in the self without the 3 kinds of obstacles obstructing your experience is the highest return you can render me. Disciple, my Lord, can such realization as has transcended the dual perception of you and I, and found the self to be entire and all-pervading, fail me at any time? Master, the truth that I am Brahman is realized from the scriptures or by the grace of the master, but it cannot be firm in the face of obstructions. Ignorance, uncertainty, and wrong knowledge are obstacles resulting from long-standing habits in the innumerable incarnations of the past, which cause trouble, and then the fruits of realization slip away. Therefore, root them out by hearing the truth, reasoning, and meditation. checked by incantations, fire will not scorch. Likewise, defective realization will not put an end to bondage. Therefore, devote yourself to hearing the truth, reasoning and meditation, and root out ignorance, uncertainty, and wrong knowledge. Ignorance veils the truth that the self is Brahman and shows forth multiplicity instead. Uncertainty is the confusion resulting from lack of firm faith in the words of the Master. The illusion that the evanescent world is a reality and that the body is the self is wrong knowledge. So say the sages. Hearing the truth is to revert the mind repeatedly to the teaching that thou art. Reasoning is rational investigation of the meaning of the text as already heard. Meditation is one-pointedness of mind. If every day you do these, you will surely gain liberation. The practice must be kept up so long as the sense of knower and knowledge persists. No effort is necessary thereafter. Remaining as pure eternal consciousness, untainted like the ether, and thus liberated while alive, one will live forever as that after being disembodied also. The wise remaining like ether and liberated even here are of four classes, namely Brahmavid, that is, a knower of Brahman, Vara, Varya, and Varishta in order of merit. The Brahmavids, who by steadfast practice have gained clear realization of Brahman, continue to perform even the hard duties of their caste and stage in life, exactly as prescribed by the Shastras, for the benefit of others, without themselves swerving from their supreme state. Should passions rise up, they disappear instantly and cannot taint the mind of a Brahmavid, who lives in society detached like water on a lotus leaf. They look ignorant, not showing forth their knowledge, and remain mute owing to intensity of inward bliss. Prarabdha, that is karma, which is now bearing fruit, differs according to the actions in past incarnations. Therefore, the present pursuits also differ among jnanis, who are all, however, liberated even here. They may perform holy tapas, or engage in trade and commerce, or rule a kingdom, or wander about as mendicants. They would not think of the past or future, would partake of what comes unsolicited, would not wander even if the sun turned into the moon, or at any other marvel, whether the sky were to spread its shoots down like a banyan tree, or a corpse were to be revived, nor would they distinguish good and bad, for they always remain as the unchanging witness of all. Among the other three classes, the Vara and the Varya remain settled in Samadhi. The Vara feels concern for the maintenance of the body. The Varya is reminded of it by others. The Varshishta never becomes aware of the body, either by himself or through others. Although there are distinguishing characteristics in the lives of the different sages, who are themselves very rare in the world, yet there is absolutely no difference in the experience of liberation. What can be the use of the hard-won Samadhi? The Brahmavid, who is outwardly active, seems sometimes to feel the misery of calamities, whereas the others remain in unbroken bliss. Now, if the Brahmavids live like the ignorant, how are they free from the cycle of births? And how is their ignorance gone? The all-pervading ether remains untainted by anything. The other four elements are tainted by contact with objects. So it is with the Brahmavid and the ignorant. The immemorial Vedas declare that single-minded devotion to a holy sage is not only pleasing to Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva together, but also secures the rewards of all the Vedic rites, and finally, liberation from the cycle of births. Now, listen how liberation while alive persists after disembodiment also. Manifold karma in store, gathered in many births, is altogether burnt away in the fire of jnana. Like cotton in a huge conflagration, further accumulating karma can never approach the jnani. The karma which has brought about the present incarnation is exhausted by experiencing its fruits. How will the merits and demerits of actions during his experience of prarabdha cease to affect him later on? His detractors share the demerits, and his devotees the merits. The causal body of ignorance is reduced to ashes in the fire of rare jnana. The visible gross body becomes a corpse in due course. Then, like a drop of water on red-hot iron, the subtle body is dissolved in the self, which underlies these three bodies, and remains entire all along. As soon as the entity of a pot is broken up, the ether in the pot becomes indistinguishable from the all-pervading ether. So also, when the limitation of the body is gone, the Jivan Mukta reverts to the natural, eternal, disembodied state of liberation, free from beginning, middle or end, and in or out. Just as the ether, though all-pervading, seems to be newly opened in a well which is newly dug, so Brahman, though ever present, yet appears as if realized afresh by inquiry into the self, as taught by a master or the scriptures. Therefore, O son, be at peace. We are always the same, limitless being. The whole universe is as unreal as water in a mirage, silver in mother of pearl, the city of Gandharvas in the air, the dreamland of dream, the blue of the sky, the serpent in a rope, the offspring of a barren woman, the horn of a hare, or the thief in a thick post. O son, pure consciousness is alone real. Do not therefore forget the self at any moment. Thus ends the first section of Kaivalya Navaneeta.